Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something pretty common, right? Speaking confidently on Zoom calls, especially when you're feeling, those nerves kicking in. Our mission here is simple. Give you what you need to speak clearly, confidently, and calmly. Make those virtual meetings feel, well, less like a trial.
Exactly. And by the end of this, you'll have like a real toolkit. We're talking practical language tips, powerful ways to shift your thinking, and some really effective ways to connect with people on screen. The aim, to make these meetings feel, well, engaging, almost second nature for you.
That sounds fantastic. Turning dreaded calls into something positive. But okay, let's unpack this a bit. Why does speaking on Zoom feel so intimidating for so many people? What's the core issue here?
It's a great question. And honestly, it's super common. Think about it. You're often, looking right at your own face. Plus, you're dealing with potential lag, maybe talking to a screen full of silent boxes. It's just right. There's actually Microsoft research showing something like 73% of people feel anxious on video calls, mostly because they're just hyper aware of how they look and sound.
73%.
Wow.
That's huge. Yeah. And yeah, totally relatable. That feeling of, is my internet okay? Or do I look weird?
Exactly. But look, the important thing is these fears, totally normal. And with the right strategies, you really can shift that anxiety into, well, confidence,
right? Real
presence.
Okay, so if that pressure is so common, how do we start to tackle? Where do we begin to change how we feel internally?
Right. So that leads us to the first, core tip. It's all about reframing. Start thinking of Zoom not as some kind of performance you have to nail, but more as an opportunity. A chance to actually connect with people. Try imagining your screen, maybe not as a stage, but like a doorway. You're inviting people in for a chat.
A doorway, not a stage. Huh. I like that. That image alone kind of makes it feel less daunting, Shifts the focus.
It really does. It's a simple shift, but the impact can be pretty instant for a lot of people. And to really cement that, try practicing a little affirmation beforehand. Something like, I'm here to connect, not to be perfect. Yeah. Just letting that idea guide your energy, guide how you show up, it changes things.
Right. Connect, not perfect.
Got it.
So, okay, we've got the mindset shift. What's next, practically speaking? How do we prepare what we want to say? Should we be writing out, full scripts? Or is that going to sound robotic?
Yeah, that's a great point. Because memorizing whole sentences, or worse, a full script, that can actually make you sound less natural, especially if you're nervous. So the key here is preparing what you might call language chunks. Think of them as flexible phrases, little building blocks you can slot into the conversation naturally.
Language chunks. Okay, I'm picturing Lego bricks for conversation. Sounds more flexible than a script, for sure. Can you give us a couple of examples? What would those chunks sound like?
Sure. Simple things, really, like opening phrases. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Shall we begin? Or if you need a moment or need something repeated, to clarify, or maybe, could I ask a follow-up question on that? See? They're flexible tools, not rigid lines you have to remember perfectly. And actually, research shows that speakers who can kind of juggle ideas using these flexible bits of language, they sound more natural, even when nervous. It keeps your English flowing and keeps you grounded in the actual interaction that's happening.
That makes total sense. Frees up brain space, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually listen and respond instead of just trying to recall lines. Okay, so we've covered mindset, we've covered language prep, chunks, not scripts. But what about our physical presence on this little screen? Does sitting up straight or whatever really make a difference? How do we use that?
Oh, absolutely it does. Don't underestimate it. Zoom is visual, People pick up on your energy even through the screen. So our third tip is definitely about making your presence felt. Simple things, really. Sit upright, yeah. Use some natural hand gestures when you talk. And don't forget to smile sometimes. And also think about your voice. Variety is key. Maybe slow down a bit when you're making a really important point, then maybe speed up a little when you're talking about something exciting. These little shifts, they keep people engaged. They make you sound confident.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. When someone just feels present on screen, it's more than just their words. Those visual cues, the voice changes, they add so much. Okay, that's great for projecting confidence, but what about those awkward moments, like when you lose your train of thought, or you just need a second? We feel this pressure to just keep talking, don't we? Or, what if someone cuts you off mid-sentence?
Right. Those are real anxieties for sure. So tip number 4 tackles that head on. It's okay to embrace silence. Seriously. It is perfectly fine to pause, take a breath, gather your thoughts, and then speak clearly. Don't feel you need to fill every single tiny gap with sound. And if someone does happen to speak over you or interrupt, you can have some calm, polite, but still assertive phrases ready. For instance, you could say something like, sorry, can I just finish my point real quick? Or maybe, I'd like to add something on that when you finish. Thanks. It just helps you reclaim your space, without creating tension.
Those are gold.
Yeah.
Seriously useful lines to just have ready. Gives you control without being confrontational. Okay, so to kind of bring all this together, we've got a really powerful story from the source material. It's about Ravi, marketing specialist from India, and his first client Zoom meeting. Apparently it was rough. He froze up, stumbled over words, basically panicked.
Yeah, his story is so relatable, isn't it? Many people have felt that. But the interesting part is what happened next. He started consciously practicing these things we've discussed, the mindset shift, focusing on his presence, using those language chunks. And apparently, in his very next meeting, he led it with much more ease. He actually got praised for his clarity afterwards. And the big insight, the really powerful thing, was this realization he wasn't necessarily perfect, but he was present and powerful. That was the description.
Present and powerful. I love that. It's not about being flawless, is it? It's about showing up authentically. What do you reckon was the biggest click for him? Or for anyone making that kind of change?
Well, it sounds like it was probably a mix of things, but maybe that core idea that perfection isn't the goal. I think letting go of that pressure allows you to stop focusing inward on your anxiety and start focusing outward on connecting and communicating what you need to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Getting out of your own head. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly hit those key takeaways again for you listening. First, shift your mindset. Focus on connection, not perfection. It's huge. Second, prepare language chunks, those flexible phrases, not rigid scripts. Third, use your visual presence. Sit up, gesture, smile, and vary your voice. Keep it dynamic. And fourth, have those calm, polite phrases ready to handle silence or interruptions gracefully.
Right. And now here's a little challenge for you, something concrete to try. In your very next Zoom call, just pick one of these tips. Seriously, just one. Maybe it's the mindset affirmation, or maybe you consciously use a couple of language chunks, or focus on your vocal rhythm, or have an interruption line ready. Just pick one thing, actively use it, and then just notice. Notice how that single change maybe impacts your flow, your feeling of presence.
Brilliant challenge. Small step, potentially big impact. You really can do this. Go on, be present, connect, and let that confidence come through on your next call.